In the distant reaches of the southern constellation, Sagittarius, there exists a place where light no longer sings, only cold mist drifts slowly through the darkness. There, an old star 17480, is taking its final breath. The gas it exhales is not fire, but frost, so beautiful it seems to be woven from silence itself. Yet that beauty is also a farewell. When its last flame fades, what remains is a region of space colder than the very fabric of the universe, where the temperature falls close to absolute zero, and time seems to pause to listen. In that coldness, there is no explosion, no light, only stillness, whispering the story of a dying star. And then we find ourselves wondering, could every ending in the universe be just a breath preparing for another beginning? Close your eyes, surrender yourself to the rhythm of star, breath, and listen with me to the coldest sigh in the cosmos, far away in the quiet southern skies of the constellation Sagittarius. An ancient star trembles at the edge of its final moment. It has burned for billions of years, shining softly in the dark ocean of the cosmos. But now, its light flickers like a candle nearing its end. Around it, silence grows deeper. The warmth that once reached across light years begins to fade, and space itself seems to hold its breath, waiting. Its surface cools, its core contracts, and the faint glow that remains is no longer the fire of life. It is the echo of a heartbeat slowing down. From its fragile body, a thin mist begins to drift outward, spreading gently into the void. It is not flame, but frost, so delicate it seems to shimmer with quiet sorrow. The mist unfolds, layer by layer, forming soft ribbons of light blue gas that wrap around the dying star like veils. These drifting clouds will soon become known as the Boomerang Nebula, the coldest place in the universe. There, in the deepest dark, the temperature falls to almost absolute zero. Even the faint hum of energy that fills the cosmos slows to silence. No explosion, no fire, storm, no chaos, only stillness. Time itself seems to hesitate, as though it cannot bear to move forward and leave this fragile beauty behind. In that stillness, every particle glows faintly, whispering of what once was. The fire, the fusion, the brilliant life that held the universe together for so long. But this is not death. It is surrender. The star does not fight its ending. It exhales, releasing what remains of itself into the waiting dark. Each breath becomes a gift, dust that will seed future worlds, light that will travel for the centuries, and gas that will one day give shape to something new. What once burned is now transforming, scattering its essence through the void. Even as it fades, it becomes infinite. If you were there to watch it, you would not see despair. You would see grace, a quiet, glowing farewell. The gas it exhales moves slowly, like silk drifting underwater, wrapping the star in a frozen cocoon of light. The nebula's twin lobes expand outward, hourglass-shaped and ethereal, glowing faintly blue against the dark. To human eyes, it is fragile. To the universe, it is eternal. Within that icy cloud, silence reigns. It's not the silence of emptiness, but of peace. the silence that comes after a song ends, when the final note still lingers in the air, the star's last warmth fades into the background glow of the cosmos, and yet something in its absence feels alive, as though the universe itself is still listening. Perhaps that is the quiet secret of creation, that even endings have rhythm, that even in stillness there is movement. From far away, the Boomerang Nebula drifts like a ghost, beautiful and untouched. To astronomers, it is a record of temperature, density, and velocity. But to those who gaze with wonder, it is something deeper, a reminder that the cosmos breathes, just as we do. Every exhale of a dying star carries the potential for something new. Every silence hides the whisper of another beginning. The gases will continue to expand for thousands of years until what was once a single body becomes an entire region of space. Dust will cool, atoms will collide, and fragments of the star will begin their long journey. Some may form part of a new sun. Others may rest forever in the quiet cold. But none are lost. Nothing in the universe ever truly disappears. It only changes its form, finding a new way to exist. And so, in this moment of stillness, there is no tragedy. There is only transformation. The fading glow becomes a memory written in light, a soft, endless shimmer drifting through the dark. What we see as death is only a breath between one life and another, between one creation and the next. If you close your eyes, you might almost feel it, that final sigh spreading through the emptiness, gentle and cold, but strangely comforting. It's the universe's reminder that everything that ends will someday begin again, that even in silence, there's a song waiting to be heard. And far beyond the pale glow of the Boomerang Nebula, deep within the same constellation, a faint spark begins to stir, the first heartbeat of a newborn star. The story of light continues, carried on the breath of what once was. The flame that once burned inside the heart of the star is dying. It no longer roars, no longer blazes. It flickers quietly, like the last ember in a forgotten hearth. What was once a fierce sun, full of light and rhythm, now contracts inward, slowly, delicately, as if folding itself into a dream. The heat that once gave life to distant dust now drifts away in the thin waves, fading into the coldness of space. Around it, silence deepens. It is the kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat, the silence that hums softly between breaths. The star exhales one last time, a sigh that travels across light years. What escapes is not fire, but something gentler, a stream of gas and dust, so thin, so light, it looks like it could dissolve into nothing. This breath carries the last warmth of its life, a whisper of the fire that once burned bright. Slowly, the mist expands outward, spreading its frozen glow like soft smoke across the black canvas of the cosmos. No sound follows it, no echo, only stillness. If you could drift close enough to see it, you would not find chaos or destruction. You would see calm, a kind of surrender. The star is not fighting anymore. It lets go with grace, allowing time and gravity to take over. Each pulse, each shimmer is a farewell, not in sorrow, but in peace, like an old traveler setting down their lantern. After a long journey, it seems to say, I have given all I can. Let the universe continue the story. The cold begins to deepen around it, wrapping the dying core in layers of still air. Molecules slow to a near stop. The last currents of energy ebb away. The temperature falls so low that even the background radiation of the universe feels warm by comparison. Within that cold, something strange happens. Time feels different. It stretches, slows, softens. 1,000 years could pass, and still it would seem like only a sigh. The light grows thinner. It no longer burns. It glows, faint, fragile, like moonlight reflected on frost. The outer shells of gas drift farther and farther, creating ghostly rings of pale blue mist. These delicate arcs will become the Boomerang Nebula, the echo of the star's final breath. Yet, to the universe, this is not an end. It is a quiet act of giving. In releasing its light, the star leaves behind the ingredients for new worlds: carbon, oxygen, and the seeds of life itself. It's a strange kind of beauty, the beauty of letting go. As its heart cools, the once fiery core collapses into something small but impossibly dense, a white ember glowing faintly against the dark. Around it, the space it once filled with warmth becomes a cradle of stillness. No motion, no fire, just the faint memory of heat, slowly fading into nothing. The universe listens, as though even the stars know that this silence deserves reverence. And yet, in that silence, there's a kind of promise, because every fading light leaves room for another to shine. The dust that floats away will drift through the void, pulled by gravity, shaped by time. Someday, in some far-off corner of space, those same particles might come together again to form a planet, a moon, or another star. The universe, after all, never wastes a breath. If you close your eyes, you might imagine the sound of it, not the sound of fire, but of release, like the softest exhale before sleep, or the hush of snow falling on glass. The star seems to rest, wrapped in the arms of its own nebula, glowing faintly within a cocoon of frozen light. The vast blackness around it is not empty. It is listening. Perhaps this is what peace looks like in the language of the cosmos. Not loud, not bright, but tender. Even in its final moments, the star gives everything it has. Its death is not a collapse, but a quiet offering. Light turned into dust, heat turned into stillness, motion turned into calm. It becomes part of everything else, woven back into the tapestry from which it was born. And somewhere, deep within the heart of that cold, a new rhythm begins to form. It's almost imperceptible, a trembling, a spark, a quiet stirring beneath the layers of frozen gas. Because endings are not the final note of the universe's song. They are the pause before a new melody begins. The nebula expands, delicate and blue, wrapping the remnants of the star in an icy halo. It floats through the darkness, like a breath suspended in time, the most fragile sculpture the universe has ever made. The flame is gone, but the light remains, scattered and softened, whispering through the endless dark. And if you listen long enough, you might feel it, that lingering warmth that refuses to vanish completely. It's faint, But it's there, the last heartbeat of a life once bright. The star has fallen asleep, but its dream continues. The cosmos carries that dream forward, reshaping it, reimagining it, breathing it into new forms. Far away, beyond the frozen edges of the Boomerang Nebula, a faint pulse begins to awaken, the slow gathering of heat and motion, the quiet hint of a new birth. The universe turns the page gently as one story closes and another begins. And so, as one flame fades into darkness, another spark begins to glow, soft, shy, and full of promise. The cycle continues, as it always has, as it always will. From the quiet shell of the dying star, streams of gas begin to drift outward, slow, delicate, and impossibly calm. They do not burst forth with violence. Instead, they flow with the softness of breath released after a long life. Each wave expands into the blackness, carrying fragments of warmth that once belonged to a sun. In the deep silence of the constellation Sagittarius, a pale mist begins to bloom, faintly blue, endlessly cold, and almost invisible against the dark. The airless void receives this exhalation without resistance. The mist thickens, unfurling across distances that stretch for light years. Within it, the last traces of heat fade away until nothing moves fast enough to make a sound, not even in theory. The temperature falls to nearly absolute zero, a point where motion itself seems to rest. It is said that this place, later known as the Boomerang Nebula, becomes colder than the background of the universe itself. Light passing through slows, bends, and scatters, as though trembling before such stillness. The glow of the expanding cloud is not bright. It is soft, like light filtered through ice. Every strand of gas moves in slow spirals, weaving patterns too large for time to measure. These frozen currents turn the surrounding space into a cathedral of silence, where even photons seem to drift reverently. The mist does not rush. It unfolds with purpose, in silence so pure that it feels alive. In this frozen sea, the essence of the star lingers. Each molecule carries a memory of the fire that once burned at its heart. What was once heat and light is now the raw material of the future. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, scattered across the dark to one day become something new. Though the star has ceased to shine, it continues to give, spreading the seeds of creation through the emptiness. The cold does not erase its story. It preserves it, like a breath caught forever in crystal. The mist stretches farther, swelling until it spans more than a light year across. Seen from afar, it resembles a faint hourglass of blue light, its two lobes opening in opposite directions, perfectly symmetrical. Inside, the heart of the nebula glows faintly, a small ember wrapped in layers of ice. The outer edges dissolve into the night, merging with the background of the Milky Way, until it is impossible to tell where the star ends and space begins. Light that crosses through this cloud trembles. It changes, scattering into waves of soft blues and silvers. The universe seems to breathe slower here. Time unfolds differently in such cold. It stretches, becoming fluid, infinite. Every second feels like an eternity. Every movement like a whisper that refuses to fade. The beauty of this moment is quiet, almost fragile. It is not the grandeur of explosion, but the grace of release. The gases expand gently, filling the void with patterns of light and shadow. There is no sound, no echo, only a calm that feels endless. The mist seems to float between states, not fully gone, not fully there. It is memory made visible. The cold intensifies until even imagination feels frostbitten. Yet within that cold lies a strange warmth, the warmth of creation waiting to begin again. The universe holds its breath, suspended in balance between death and rebirth. The dying star's final gift becomes the most delicate structure in existence, an ocean of frozen light drifting in perfect silence. Every atom continues its long journey outward, joining the vast architecture of the cosmos. The gases, mix with ancient dust, swirl in gentle eddies and gradually blend into the fabric of interstellar space. The nebula, though cold, glows faintly, reminding everything around it that even in stillness, something continues to move. In time, the mist will thin and fade, leaving behind only traces, faint, ghostly wisps of light. But for now, it remains suspended, a masterpiece of fragility. The universe watches quietly as this scene unfolds, one star's breath becoming part of the infinite. The Boomerang Nebula drifts like a memory that refuses to vanish, beautiful not because it burns, but because it endures. The story of the star does not end here. Somewhere within the same constellation, gravity is beginning to weave another pattern. Tiny fragments of hope, far from the frozen mist, are gathering. Slow, invisible motions that mark the start of something new. Heat begins to rise again, faint and hesitant, like the first heartbeat of a newborn. Beyond the frozen veil, a spark of light prepares to return. The universe shifts gently, carrying the memory of the old star into the making of the new. The cold mist continues to drift, and in its quiet shadow, the first warmth of another sun begins to stir. From the star's final breath, the cold gathers. The mist that once drifted aimlessly through the dark begins to fold upon itself, drawn together by gravity's invisible hand. Slowly, delicately, it starts to take shape, not through force or fire, but through balance. The expanding gas cools, condenses, and forms two soft wings of mist, stretching outward in perfect symmetry. The Boomerang Nebula is born. Its shape is fragile, yet precise. Two arcs of vapor expanding in opposite directions, like the breath of an eternal sigh frozen in time. At its center lies the fading ember of the star that once was, now hidden beneath a cocoon of frost and silence. The nebula does not shine with its own light. It glows by reflection, catching the faint rays of distant stars and scattering them across its icy veil. What reaches the eye is not brightness, but a whisper of light, a soft blue luminescence that seems to float between existence and memory. The Boomerang Nebula stretches more than a light year across, yet it feels weightless, suspended like smoke in the stillness of the universe. Its symmetry is haunting, too perfect, too quiet, as if nature herself exhaled and then held her breath. Each lobe expands outward at astonishing speed, but the chill is so absolute that motion itself becomes graceful, like slow ripples in frozen water. The two wings mirror each other, reflecting the balance between release and rest. One carries the remnants of the star's final outflow, the other the echo of its beginning. Between them lies a narrow waist, the point where the breath first divided, a mark of stillness amid motion, the silent center of a cosmic heartbeat. Scientists, centuries later, will describe this as a pre-planetary nebula, but in truth, it is a portrait of transformation, the soul of a dying star becoming art. Each grain of dust, each molecule of gas within the nebula carries a trace of story. The oxygen, the carbon, the nitrogen, all were born in the furnace of the old star's heart. Now, scattered through space, they drift together in this cold sculpture, waiting for their next purpose. What once burned with intensity now rests in serenity. What once blazed with energy now hums softly in silence. The Boomerang Nebula is not a monument to death, but a song of renewal played in the key of stillness. Light from distant stars filters through the thin edges of the nebula, painting faint halos of blue and silver. These rays travel for centuries before reaching the cloud, only to be bent, slowed, and scattered, a dance between light and cold. The boomerang's wings shimmer faintly, reflecting not power, but persistence. Its glow is not the blaze of creation, but the patience of endurance, beauty born from the act of letting go. Around its edges, the mist continues to expand. Each passing millennium adds another layer, another ripple in the fabric of space. Yet no matter how far it spreads, the core remains undisturbed, quiet, motionless, holding its place in the center of the grand design. Time stretches here. The rhythm of the universe slows to a near stop. The nebula becomes a frozen melody, suspended between breath and silence. In the grand stillness, the Boomerang Nebula becomes a mirror, not only for starlight, but for everything that ends and begins again. Its two symmetrical wings reflect a truth woven into the fabric of the cosmos, that every release becomes renewal, that even the coldest places can cradle the seeds of warmth. Within the heart of this frozen mist, the laws of physics and poetry meet. Every photon that passes through carries with it the echo of what came before, the warmth of the past becoming the light of the present. The nebula drifts through the void, alone but not lonely. Its vast wings stretch quietly, marking the place where a star once lived and where its legacy continues to unfold. The Boomerang Nebula is not a static sculpture. It is alive with motion, too slow for the eye, too gentle for the ear. A slow heartbeat pulsing through the emptiness. For the universe, this moment is just a pause. The mist that now forms these elegant wings will one day thin and scatter. The frozen gases will drift farther, merging with the dust of other dying stars. In time, they will become the raw material for new suns, new planets, new beginnings. Even here, amid the coldest silence, the cycle of creation never truly stops. There is something profoundly peaceful about it, the way endings blend into beginnings so quietly that they are almost the same thing. The Boomerang Nebula reminds us that death in the universe is not destruction, but transformation. A final exhale becomes the foundation for something else to breathe. The faint glow of the nebula continues to shimmer, reaching the eyes of distant worlds thousands of years later. To those who look up from faraway planets, it might appear as a ghostly figure, delicate and pale, floating between constellations. But for the universe itself, it is a heartbeat, one that continues to echo softly through the dark. And somewhere beyond this frozen masterpiece, gravity begins to stir once more. Particles from other dying stars are gathering in a hidden cradle of dust and heat. A faint vibration moves through the silence, the first murmur of warmth returning. Beyond the boomerang's icy wings, deep within the galactic sea, a new star prepares to awaken. The chill of death gives way to the first flicker of light. The cosmos inhales again, and the next chapter begins, where fire will be reborn from frost. Within the spreading cloud of the Boomerang Nebula, something extraordinary unfolds. The temperature falls lower and lower until it reaches 272 degrees Celsius, only a fraction of a degree above absolute zero. It is colder than the background of the universe itself, colder than the faint radiation left from the birth of time. Here, even energy forgets how to move. Every vibration, every trembling of the smallest particle slows to near stillness. The star that once breathed fire now sleeps in a silence so deep it bends the very meaning of life and death. This is not the absence of warmth. It is the presence of perfect stillness. The gases that drifted outward from the star no longer collide or shimmer. They float, suspended in time, like a frozen tide in an ocean without end. The cold does not scream. It whispers. It spreads slowly, wrapping the nebula in a calm that feels eternal. Within this silence, the dying star's last trace of heat lingers, a soft pulse at the heart of the frost. Faint but unbroken, the Boomerang Nebula becomes a paradox, a place of death that still beats with life. Though the star has long ceased to burn, its final breath continues to shape the space around it. Every atom it released is now part of this magnificent stillness, the coldest heart in the known universe. The gases expand outward, thin and transparent, but the core remains at the center, locked in ice, preserving the memory of warmth that once filled it. There is a strange beauty in this kind of silence. It is not emptiness, it is peace. The vastness here does not feel lonely, only patient. The cold itself seems alive, as if it were listening to the echo of what was, to the breath that once lit galaxies. The universe pauses, holding this moment gently, as though afraid to disturb it. Light still passes through, but it moves differently now. The photons that travel across this frozen cloud scatter, refract, and lose their rhythm. The cold slows them, bends them, humbles them. They emerge softer, paler, light transformed into a whisper. What remains is not brightness, but calm, a pale, tranquil glow that lingers across light years. This is how the nebula breathes now, not through fire, but through reflection. Scientists call this temperature the coldest place in the universe, but words like cold cannot capture its essence. It is not simply the lack of heat, it is the near stillness of time itself. The molecules here barely move. Even sound, if it could exist in this void, would freeze mid-echo. The Boomerang Nebula is no longer just a cloud of gas. It has become a monument to stillness, a sculpture carved from silence and frozen light. And at the very center is the remnant of the star, small, pale, hidden within its own creation. It no longer burns, but it still holds something sacred: memory. The cold that surrounds it is not its enemy, it is its legacy. It keeps the star's story alive in another form. The heat that once reached across the cosmos has turned inward, transformed into a slow, eternal calm. The star may have stopped shining, but it has not stopped being. It has simply changed its rhythm. There is a quiet lesson in this, that even the coldest place in the universe is not empty. Within this infinite frost, life is preparing to return. The atoms that now drift in stillness will one day collide again, drawn together by gravity's patient hand. They will ignite new fires, light new skies, and continue the eternal cycle of creation. The cold is not the end. It is the pause before renewal. In this moment, the nebula resembles a frozen breath suspended between heartbeats. Its blue glow is faint but constant, a symbol of endurance rather than decay. The star's death has become the universe's art, a masterpiece painted in silence, sculpted by temperature, and framed by infinite dark. It is a reminder that beauty does not only live in light. Sometimes it lives in the quiet places where everything slows and waits to be reborn. From Earth, telescopes capture this distant wonder, an hourglass of frozen gas, glowing softly against the night. To the eyes of science, it is data, a temperature reading, a model of stellar evolution. But to the human heart, it is something else entirely, a vision of stillness that speaks of eternity. The Boomerang Nebula shows us that the universe breathes in cycles: inhale, exhale, fire, frost, and that even the coldest silence carries meaning. The dying star has fallen silent, but the cold it left behind continues to hum. It has become the nebula's core, a frozen heart that beats in slow motion, shaping the quiet architecture of space. The fire has turned to frost, but the rhythm of the universe continues, steady and eternal. And then, somewhere in the same constellation, a faint pulse begins to rise, a subtle tremor in the dark, like the memory of warmth returning. Beyond the frozen beauty of the Boomerang Nebula, new clouds of gas begin to gather. Gravity stirs again. The cycle moves forward. The universe prepares to exhale once more. Thus, from the coldest heart of the cosmos, warmth will one day awaken. The silence of death will give way to the murmur of creation, and the breath that once froze the stars will, in time, give rise to new light. The first spark of a new beginning. Inside the Boomerang Nebula, light behaves differently. It does not reflect. It does not scatter. It does not bloom. It simply disappears, swallowed by the cold, absorbed into a silence so deep that even brightness seems to forget itself. Here, the universe folds inward. Every beam of light that once traveled freely now drifts into stillness, its energy lost to the frost that guards this place. The mist is not opaque, yet it feels impenetrable. Rays from distant stars enter the nebula's wings, but instead of illuminating, they fade. Their path dissolves into the frozen gas, vanishing like breath on a winter window. This is where light learns to be quiet, where it stops singing and begins to listen. The airless expanse does not echo. It holds light the way snow holds sound, muffling it until nothing remains but calm. Within this immense stillness, the nebula becomes a vessel of silence. Its cold curves shimmer faintly, but not from reflection. It is the afterglow of energy fading into rest. The Boomerang Nebula is not dark because it lacks light. It is dark because it has learned how to absorb it completely. Every photon that enters becomes part of its still heart, joining the long rhythm of sleep that began when the star took its last breath. The light that remains moves slowly, drifting like dust through twilight. It doesn't escape. It lingers. It moves through layers of frozen gas so delicate that the boundaries blur between space and substance. The faintest blue glow hovers like memory, not illumination. To gaze upon it is to see light at the edge of its endurance, no longer radiant, but reflective, meditative. In the heart of the nebula, silence has taken form. The symmetry of its wings, the stillness of its gas, and the faint whisper of its fading light together create something that feels almost alive. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a sculpture of calm, a place where the universe seems to pause and rest its eyes. It is not just a region of space, it is a state of being, the moment between movement and memory. The silence here is not empty. It has texture, density, a slow pulse that hums beneath the surface. The light that dissolves into it is not lost. It becomes part of the stillness, woven into the quiet breath of the cosmos. In a way, the nebula is both alive and asleep, its calm spreading outward, touching every ray that dares to enter. The temperature remains impossibly low, the pressure almost non-existent. Nothing stirs, yet everything feels balanced, suspended. The nebula holds itself like a breath, held too long, delicate and deliberate. The light that once defined it now becomes its surrender. The boomerang no longer shines. It contemplates. In this frozen silence, time softens. The past and the present merge into one quiet expanse. Light, once a restless traveler, finds peace here. The photons that once leapt across galaxies have found their destination, not in brilliance, but in rest. The nebula becomes a sanctuary for the weary energy of the universe. Looking at it from afar, the boomerang seems almost transparent, a faint hourglass in a sea of black. But what lies inside it is profound, a lesson whispered in frost. Even light, the purest symbol of motion and vitality, must one day stop to breathe, and in that breath, it discovers another form of beauty, stillness that glows softly, invisibly, endlessly. The Boomerang Nebula, in its frozen silence, teaches something the living often forget, that absence is not emptiness, and quiet is not void. Sometimes, the most profound light is the one that stops shining, not because it has died, but because it has learned how to rest. And somewhere beyond this frozen hush, the universe begins to stir again, beyond the wings of the boomerang, where light still dares to wander. Faint ripples of heat return, books and dust, long scattered, start to gather once more. Gravity hums quietly, like a lullaby beneath the silence. The cosmos, having learned stillness, now prepares to breathe it again. In the darkness beyond the boomerang, new light begins to form, the first glimmer of a rebirth that will rise from silence itself. Mpeg. Across the frozen wings of the Boomerang Nebula, fine dust drifts through the silence. Slow, patient, eternal, these grains, born from the final sigh of the dying star, move like tiny souls suspended in the dark. They shimmer faintly, catching what little light remains, each particle carrying a story, a memory of warmth, of fire, of the heartbeat that once burned at the center of everything. The star is gone, but its essence lingers, scattered gently into space. The dust does not rush anywhere. It moves as though time itself has loosened its hold, floating softly through the nebula's still air. Every fragment is a piece of history, forged in the furnace of the star's past, now drifting in peace. Within each grain lies carbon, oxygen, iron, the same elements that once gave rise to worlds, oceans, and living things. The universe, vast and quiet, receives them like messages whispered across eternity. In this frozen sanctuary, nothing makes a sound, yet somehow it feels as if the cosmos is listening. The slow movement of the dust, the faint vibration of scattered atoms, the gentle pulse of residual energy, all of it forms a rhythm, too subtle for human ears, but clear to the universe itself. It listens not with ears, but with time, gathering these faint signals into the endless symphony of creation and decay. The dust glows faintly as it travels outward, reflecting a dim blue hue from the distant starlight that brushes past it. The glow is soft, fragile, not the brightness of life, but the echo of it. Each mote turns slowly, weightless, dancing in a gravity so gentle it feels like a dream. It is a waltz of endings and beginnings, played in slow motion against the black canvas of the void. The Boomerang Nebula, once defined by fire, has now become a cradle of dust and silence. The particles expand farther, creating thin ribbons that twist and shimmer in the cold. They will travel for thousands, perhaps millions of years, some to drift alone forever, others to meet and merge with distant clouds. And in time, gravity will draw some of them together again, forming the seeds of something new. The universe is patient. It does not hurry the return of light. It listens. It gathers. It remembers. These drifting grains, invisible to the naked eye, are the quiet storytellers of existence. They carry with them the memory of the star's warmth, the pressure of its final breath, and the gentle calm that followed. In their silence, they speak of transformation, of the way every ending leaves behind a trace of creation. From the outside, the nebula appears motionless, but within it, countless stories are unfolding. Every grain of dust moves with purpose, following the soft pull of unseen forces. Together, they form delicate paths, curving and looping in a cosmic dance that will one day shape new worlds. What looks like emptiness is in truth the preparation for another beginning. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a bridge between two moments, the death of one light and the promise of another. Its frozen dust drifts like the quiet breath between heartbeats, waiting to be gathered again into a rhythm. The silence that fills this place is not absence, it is listening. The universe leans in, attentive and tender, hearing the faint hum of matter continuing its endless journey. Each fragment of dust carries potential. Inside, the same atoms that once blazed in the stellar fire now sleep, resting before the next act of creation. The universe recycles itself endlessly, nothing truly lost, only reshaped. Even the quiet breath of a dying star can someday become the soil of another planet, the light of another dawn, the spark within another heart. From this perspective, death loses its sharpness, the cold becomes gentle, and the dust, those tiny drifting embers, become sacred. The universe treats them not as remnants, but as beginnings in disguise. The Boomerang Nebula is no longer merely a place of silence. It is a heartbeat slowed to the rhythm of eternity, and as these grains continue to drift, they begin to mingle with older dust, with matter from stars that died long before. They merge, dissolve, and reform, creating a vast, invisible network that connects all things. The airless dark becomes alive with unseen motion, the slow weaving of tomorrow's light. Somewhere, beyond the edges of the nebula, the dust begins to gather once more. Gravity stirs faintly, pulling particles closer, turning stillness into motion. The seeds of new stars begin to form, small, fragile, hidden within the folds of darkness. The universe exhales gently, and the dust responds. From the ashes of silence, warmth begins to return. Within the cradle of darkness, a faint pulse awakens, the first sign that light will rise again. The universe has listened long enough. Now, it is ready to sing once more. The cold that fills the Boomerang Nebula is not just a measure of physics, it is a feeling. It is the quiet ache that lingers after something beautiful has gone. It is not the kind of cold that bites the skin. It is the kind that seeps into memory, into silence, into the spaces where warmth used to live. This is not only the chill of 272 degrees Celsius, it is the temperature of absence, the soft echo of a farewell stretched across light years. The star that once burned at the heart of this nebula is gone. Its fire, once fierce and alive, has faded into silence. But what remains is not emptiness. It is longing. The gases, the dust, the faint light that still hovers in the dark, they all seem to remember. They carry within them the trace of what once was, the rhythm of its heat, the shimmer of its light, the memory of its breath. The universe does not cry, yet here, in the stillness of the boomerang, it feels as though space itself is mourning. This cold is grief made visible. It spreads softly, without sound, touching everything it passes. The mist glows faintly blue, like tears suspended in the void. Every molecule drifts slowly, carrying sorrow without pain, just quiet acceptance. The star did not vanish in anger or violence. It simply released itself, letting go of its light so that the universe could continue. In doing so, it gave birth to this silence, a silence that feels like love, remembering itself. The nebula expands, but the feeling stays. It is as if the cold has learned to hold emotion the way light once held heat. The temperature is so low that motion nearly stops, yet the stillness feels alive. It hums softly, like a lullaby made of distance and memory. Even the faint photons that pass through seem slower, gentler, respectful, unwilling to disturb the peace that has settled here. There's something tender in the way the universe remembers. It does not weep with sound, but with stillness. Every wisp of gas, every grain of dust, carries the softness of farewell, the quiet dignity of something that has finished its purpose and returned to the whole. The Boomerang Nebula becomes not just an astronomical wonder, but an emotional one. The portrait of a star's final embrace. The airless dark feels full, not empty. Within it floats the echo of light that once warmed countless atoms. It's as if the nebula holds the memory of heat within its own coldness, a contradiction that only the universe could create. This is what the end of a star feels like. Not destruction, but transformation. A passage from fire into frost, from sound into silence, from being into remembering. The cold deepens, yet it comforts. It wraps the nebula in a stillness that feels almost protective, as though the cosmos itself is preserving this moment. The last trace of light, the final echo of warmth, for eternity. The nebula's faint glow is not just reflection, it is remembrance. It is the soul of a star whispering to the universe, I was here, I burned, I gave, and the universe hears. It does not respond with thunder or flame, but with patience. It allows the silence to settle, to expand, to become part of the greater rhythm, because every ending, no matter how quiet, belongs to the eternal conversation between light and darkness. The Boomerang Nebula drifts farther into the void, its two wings stretching wider, colder, slower. What was once motion becomes stillness. What was once flame becomes memory. But the story does not stop here. Even in this cold, something stirs, a hint of warmth, a subtle shift in balance. The dust that carries sorrow will one day become the soil of creation. The same atoms that once mourned will ignite again. This is how the universe heals, not by forgetting, but by transforming grief into growth. The death of a star becomes the breath of another. The space between them becomes the bridge where silence turns into song. Far beyond the frozen glow of the Boomerang Nebula, new clouds of gas begin to gather. They are faint, invisible to the eye, but their movement is sure. Gravity has begun its patient work again, pulling fragments together, coaxing warmth from the cold. The universe, having wept its silent tears, begins to smile once more. In the quiet after loss, creation begins to hum again. From the chill of farewell rises the warmth of beginning, the first whisper of light returning to the cosmic sea. From the breath of a dying star, dust drifts across the endless dark. These grains, small, delicate, almost invisible, are all that remain of what once burned brighter than 1,000 suns. They no longer carry fire, yet they are far from lifeless. Within their quiet structure lies memory, the trace of light, the whisper of heat, the faint pulse of energy that once shaped a star's heart. They float freely now, carrying that memory across the ocean of the cosmos. Each speck moves slowly, gracefully, like a snowflake falling through eternity. They glide through the thin air of the Boomerang Nebula, past the frozen mist that still hums with the echo of silence. The dust does not rush. It follows no straight path. Instead, it drifts in spirals, guided by invisible hands, by gravity, by radiation, by the soft breath of time itself. Every turn and curve becomes part of a larger pattern, a design so vast that only the universe can see it. These are not ashes, they are beginnings. Every grain holds within it the possibility of creation, carbon that could one day form a diamond core in another star, iron that might harden into the crust of a future planet, oxygen that could fill an unseen sky. The dust of death is already the seed of life. And so, the story continues, carried quietly by the smallest particles in existence. The nebula itself seems to cradle them. The cold that once silenced light now protects these fragile travelers. They drift through this frozen sanctuary as though wrapped in a cosmic lullaby, safe from the harshness of radiation and the violence of collisions. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a womb of stillness where the last remnants of a star's breath rest before being reborn. From a distance, they shimmer faintly, like distant memories of light trying to remember how to glow. The particles scatter and join, forming thin rivers of dust that curve across space. The universe paints with these particles, gentle strokes of blue, silver, and shadow. They move slowly, but endlessly, weaving through the blackness, spreading the remnants of one star into the fabric of everything. Each grain is a story. Inside, there are atoms that once fused under immense pressure, where fire and gravity competed in a dance of survival. Those same atoms now float freely, no longer bound by a single purpose. They wander through the cosmos, silent messengers carrying the memory of their origin. The star is gone, but through them, it continues to speak. The airless dark listens. The dust drifts through the quiet, crossing light years, joining other remnants from other stars that have lived and died before. Together, they form the building blocks of galaxies, the foundation of worlds yet to be imagined. It is from this dust that everything, planets, oceans, life, will one day rise. Every breath we take, every atom in our bodies, once drifted through a silence like this. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a slow-moving river of creation. The dust thickens, then thins again, spreading out into interstellar space. In places, it gathers in faint swirls where gravity begins to whisper. These tiny gatherings are imperceptible, but they are the first outlines of future suns. Time, patient and infinite, continues to sculpt them. The universe does not hurry. It allows beauty to unfold in silence. There is something gentle in this process, the way endings fold into beginnings, the way destruction leaves behind the materials for rebirth. The dust does not mourn its origin. It carries it proudly. Even without flame, it still shines with purpose. The energy it once held remains, not as heat, but as potential, a quiet spark waiting for its next moment. And so, across light years, the dust travels. It joins the interstellar winds, moves through clouds of hydrogen, and begins to settle into new formations. Some particle will drift forever, lost to the void. Others will find one another again, drawn together by gravity's soft insistence. In time, they will form something larger, a nebula, a planet, perhaps even another star. The cycle is patient, eternal, inevitable. The universe listens to the hum of this motion, slow, rhythmic, steady. The drifting dust carries with it the echo of everything that came before, and the promise of everything that will come next. In its quiet way, it is both memory and prophecy. The Boomerang Nebula fades slowly behind, its cold heart beating ever fainter. The dust continues its journey outward, expanding into the wider galaxy, becoming part of something vast and unseen. The cold gives way to regions of soft warmth, places where new stars are stirring, their gravity pulling the wandering grains closer. The dust that once mourned begins to gather again, ready to become part of new fire. And far beyond the frozen remnants of the Boomerang Nebula, where the chill begins to loosen its grip, a faint light awakens. The first flicker of warmth touches the drifting dust. Not enough to burn, just enough to stir it. The universe exhales, and the dust begins to fall toward the glow. It is the beginning of another chapter, where from cold, warmth returns, and from silence, light is reborn. The darkness around the Boomerang Nebula does not destroy, it embraces. It folds gently around the frozen wings of gas and dust, not as an enemy of light, but as its keeper. The nebula, suspended in this calm, glows faintly, a soft memory of what once burned, and the darkness, vast and patient, becomes its blanket. It does not seek to consume, only to protect. Within that cold and endless night, the remains of a star rest quietly, safe in the universe's quiet arms. The blackness is not empty. It is full of stillness, of waiting, of possibility. The shadows stretch like waves through the void, covering the nebula in a kind of quiet affection. This is not the cruel darkness of oblivion. It is the gentle shade that follows light, the pause that allows the next brightness to form. The universe knows balance, and here, within the boomerang's cradle, it shows its softest side. The dust that once drifted freely now lies still, floating like a dream within the folds of shadow. It does not burn, it does not fall. It simply rests, suspended between what was and what will be. The particles seem to breathe in unison, though there is no air, expanding, contracting, moving ever so slightly with the pulse of the cosmos. In this moment, they are asleep, not lost. The cold that surrounds them is deep, but not cruel. It is the kind of cold that preserves, that holds time still so nothing can fade. Every atom is wrapped in quiet, protected from chaos. The universe waits for the right breath, the right warmth, the right pull of gravity to begin again. Until then, The Boomerang Nebula remains like a nursery of silence, a place where darkness has learned tenderness. From afar, the nebula is invisible to the naked eye. Its light is too faint, its color too pale to pierce the deep sky. And yet, telescopes that gaze into its direction capture its hidden glow, a faint blue whisper, like the last sigh of twilight. That light is not a cry for help, it is a lullaby. It tells the universe that not all endings need brightness. Some are meant to fade softly, beautifully, into peace. Within this frozen silence, the particles of dust continue their patient slumber. They float in gentle patterns, guided by invisible threads of gravity. These are the seeds of tomorrow's suns, sleeping under a cosmic quilt. Around them, the darkness hums with low vibrations, the faint heartbeat of time itself, counting endlessly, waiting for renewal. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a symbol of this quiet cycle. Its wings, once shaped by the dying breath of a star, are now still. The gas, the dust, the faint remnants of light, all are embraced by the night. It is here that the universe learns patience and perhaps compassion. For in this darkness, nothing is taken away. Everything is simply held. The longer the nebula sleeps, the deeper its transformation becomes. What once was a monument to loss slowly turns into a promise. The darkness does not end the story. It nurtures it. Within the folds of cold, atoms continue their quiet dance, colliding gently, building unseen bridges of energy. Slowly, imperceptibly, the foundation of new creation begins to take shape. The boomerang rests within the Milky Way like a cocoon, fragile, yet full of potential. The silence surrounding it is not lifeless, it is fertile. Every pause the universe takes is a preparation for movement. Every shadow holds the outline of light yet to come. And so, the nebula remains in this holy quiet, the breath between heartbeats, the pause before rebirth. There is a strange warmth hidden even in the coldest dark. It is not heat as we know it, but something deeper, the warmth of memory, of energy preserved, of futures forming. The Boomerang Nebula hums with that warmth, though its temperature stays impossibly low. It is the kind of warmth that speaks not to touch, but to hope. Darkness, it seems, has learned gentleness. It has learned how to hold without harming, how to cradle without closing. In its stillness, it gives everything the time it needs to grow. It allows the stars' ashes to rest, the dust to gather, and the energy to dream again. What began as an ending has become an embrace. And then, quietly, after eons of stillness, something changes. The darkness begins to stir. Deep within the nebula's heart, the dust starts to shift. Gravity, that invisible artist, begins its work again, slowly pulling fragments together. The first faint tremors of motion return to the frozen calm. It is gentle, subtle, almost imperceptible, but it marks the beginning of something new. Beyond the boomerang's silent wings, a new pulse begins to form, the earliest sign of heat returning to the dark. The particles that once slept start to awaken, drawn together by unseen hands. The universe breathes in again, softly, and prepares to light another star. Amid the frozen mist of the Boomerang Nebula, a faint light still flickers. It is not strong enough to chase the darkness away, not bold enough to warm the void, yet it persists. Deep within the nebula's cold heart, a few fragile photons escape from the star that once was. They are weak, almost invisible, like the breath of a candle after the flame has gone out. But they move, they shimmer, they survive. This is the last warmth of a life, once vast. The dying star's core, though faint, still hums with a remnant of energy, a glow that refuses to fade completely. It is not fire anymore, but memory. Each photon that drifts through the frozen gas carries a whisper of what once burned so brightly. They wander through the blue mist, brushing softly against particles of dust, leaving behind the smallest trace of light, a heartbeat of radiance within an ocean of stillness. The light here is unlike any other. It does not shine with power. It glows with tenderness. It stretches across the cold, not to conquer it, but to remind it that warmth once lived here. Every pulse that escapes the nebula's center is both farewell and promise, a signal that death, in its quietest form, still carries beauty. The Boomerang Nebula listens to this fragile light. The frozen gases shimmer faintly, catching the scattered photons, like fireflies trapped in glass. For a moment, an eternal, delicate moment, the cold learns to glow. The mist, shaped by the star's final breath, becomes a mirror of remembrance. It reflects not brightness, but presence. The star's voice is gone, yet its echo hums through the frost. Even the universe seems to pause here, watching this quiet defiance. Against the vast silence, a few particles of light continue their journey. They move slowly, bending around the nebula's frozen wings, their path curving gently into the void. They will travel for centuries, perhaps millennia, carrying with them the faint warmth of something long extinguished. And though they will grow weaker with each passing light year, they will never fully vanish. There is something profoundly human in this persistence, this small, flickering refusal to be completely gone. The photons are not trying to fight the dark. They are simply continuing their path, as they were born to do. It is their nature to move, to illuminate, even in the faintest way. In them, the universe preserves a truth, that endings are never absolute, that even silence hums with the echo of creation. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a cathedral of faint light, not shining, but breathing. Its two symmetrical wings hold the scattered warmth in a perfect balance. The light does not dominate the cold. It coexists with it. Together, they form a harmony that is neither life nor death, but something in between. A cosmic twilight where both exist at once. The faint photons continue to drift outward, weaving through trails of dust and frozen gas. Some scatter, some disappear, some reach beyond the nebula's edge into the deeper dark. Each carries a fragment of the star's last voice, and somewhere, far beyond where eyes can see, another cloud of matter receives that light. A distant molecule absorbs a photon, and for a brief instant, it vibrates with warmth. The story of the star continues, invisible but alive. This lingering warmth, so small and fragile, is not meaningless. It is the quiet testimony that death can also create light, not through fire, but through grace. It is not the brilliance of life that defines the universe, but the soft glow that remains after. The Boomerang Nebula is proof of this, a place where silence somewhat shines, where the final breath of a star becomes an eternal whisper across time. From Earth, telescopes capture its faint image, a ghostly blue hourglass floating in the void. To human eyes, it seems distant, unreachable, but in that distance lies something intimate. We are made of the same dust, warmed by the same ancient light. Those photons, faint as they are, travel across millions of years to touch us, to remind us that even the smallest glow can outlast the longest night. And as the Boomerang Nebula continues to fade, its center begins to change. The last pulses of light grow slower, softer, merging into the dark. But within that stillness, new motion begins. Deep beneath the frozen shell, particles start to drift closer again. Gravity whispers. Time breathes. The remnants of the old star are beginning to gather, preparing to form something new. Beyond the last glimmers of dying light, in the quiet folds of the nebula, a pulse begins to form. It is almost imperceptible, a vibration beneath the silence, a murmur beneath the frost. The warmth that remains does not vanish. It begins to transform. The universe inhales again, and from the ashes of cold, another rhythm starts to rise. Inside the Boomerang Nebula, time does not move the way it does elsewhere. It stretches, it thickens, it breathes. Each second unfolds like a long exhale from the dying heart of the star that once lived here, SAO 17248, and then dissolves softly into the quiet air of the cosmos. In this frozen region, moments drift as slowly as the light that passes through it, bending and fading, until past and present blur into one endless sigh. The temperature is so low, so absolute, that even motion seems hesitant. Atoms barely move. Gas expands with infinite patience. The nebula itself feels suspended between beats, as if the universe has chosen to pause and listen. Time, usually sharp and relentless, becomes gentle here. It doesn't rush forward. It flows like honey, slow and luminous, coating every particle with stillness. Each ripple of gas that leaves the nebula's heart is a fragment of time released, a breath, a memory, a trace of the star's final rhythm. They drift outward, folding into layers of cold, and vanish into the black. From a distance, the motion is imperceptible, yet everything is moving. The Boomerang Nebula expands, molecule by molecule, light year by light year, in silence so complete it feels sacred. Here, the meaning of time changes. It is no longer measured in seconds or years, but in the distance between two breaths, between one photon and another, between the star's last whisper and the universe's reply. Every grain of dust, every wave of light, every shimmer of frost carries its own timeline, its own slow unfolding. The nebula is not frozen in death. It is breathing at the pace of eternity. To watch it is to see patience made visible. The expanding gas stretches outward, creating layers of translucent blue, each thinner and colder than the one before. This is time in motion, slow enough to be sculpted by stillness. What we call 1,000 years is here, just the blink of a sleeping star. The universe does not hurry. It knows that every transformation needs silence. In the heart of the boomerang, the remnants of the old star pulse faintly. The warmth is almost gone, yet not entirely. Every weak photon that escapes is another second marked, another sigh in the life of the nebula. And as they drift outward, they carry with them fragments of time, the slow heartbeat of the cosmos captured in light. These faint traces are what remains of the star's dialogue with existence. The nebula itself feels timeless, but it is not eternal. One day, its wings of mist will thin and fade. Its light will disappear into the background of the universe. Yet even that disappearance will take millions of years, time enough for countless other stars to be born and die. The Boomerang Nebula teaches that endings are not sudden. They unfold like echoes, long after the voice is gone. In this slowness, there is beauty, the kind that cannot be seen in bursts of light or violent birth, but only in the quiet persistence of what remains. The boomerang is the universe at its most contemplative, breathing softly, holding its shape, allowing time to move as it wishes. Its stillness is not lifeless, it is thoughtful. Each ripple of cold is a verse in the story of existence, written in frozen air. The flow of time here resembles the rhythm of sleep, deep, unbroken, and tender. The nebula rests in its own pulse, repeating endlessly, quietly, as if whispering to itself, "I am still here." The gases continue their slow expansion, their molecules tracing invisible paths through the dark, marking time not by speed, but by grace. Every layer of frost that forms, every whisper of movement that fades, adds another page to the story of cosmic patience. And still, beneath this vast calm, something subtle begins to change. The gravitational pull of the surrounding space starts to stir. Dust gathers, almost imperceptibly, forming faint clusters that will one day grow heavier. The Boomerang Nebula is not only slowing down, it is preparing. Time, long held in suspension, begins to stretch its arms again, hinting at motion, at rebirth. Even the silence feels different now. It hums with quiet anticipation, as though the nebula knows something unseen is about to begin. The star that once breathed its final sigh left behind not only coldness, but the foundation for warmth to return. What feels like the end of time is actually its renewal. Slow, patient, inevitable. To the human eye, nothing changes. To the universe, everything does. The flow of time continues, invisible, continuous, eternal, carrying the Boomerang Nebula from death into the next stage of becoming. And beyond the frozen edges of the nebula, where the last traces of light fade into the dark, a faint ripple begins to form. The slow swirl of dust and gas drawn together by gravity's unseen hand. From the stillness of cold time, motion returns. The next chapter begins, where warmth will rise again from the heart of silence. The death of Sol Event 2480 was not violent. It did not roar or collapse with fury. It faded gently, a quiet, graceful ending written in light and dust. Where other stars might explode in brilliance, this one chose stillness. It let go of its fire slowly, with tenderness, as though it understood that even in dying, there was beauty to be found. Around it, the Boomerang Nebula bloomed like a painting drawn in silence. Its delicate wings of gas stretched outward, forming perfect symmetry, two veils of frozen breath curving into space. Every strand, every shimmer seemed intentional, as if the universe itself had stopped to admire the moment. This was no accident of physics. It was art in motion, the final self-portrait of a star that once glowed with life. The colors were faint, almost imperceptible to the naked eye. Pale blue, silver white, a ghostly haze that shimmered against the darkness. The nebula was not loud in its beauty. It was soft, fragile, ephemeral, like a whisper written across the face of the cosmos. It invited not awe, but calm. The universe, in its infinite vastness, seemed to slow down here, to watch, to remember, to breathe. The star's death did not erase it. It transformed it. Its ashes became the brushstrokes of creation. Each molecule of carbon, each trace of oxygen, each grain of dust, a part of something larger. The nebula became the canvas on which time painted light, and silence became its frame. Nothing in this place spoke of destruction. Everything spoke of transformation. The dying star gave everything it had, not in a burst, but in an exhale. The gas it released formed gentle curves, like ripples spreading across a frozen lake. The light that once burned fiercely now softened, scattering through the mist like a memory of warmth. It was as if the star, in its final moments, chose to leave beauty instead of brightness, something the universe could hold on to long after the fire was gone. The Boomerang Nebula stands as a reminder that endings can be gentle. It shows that decay can have grace, and that silence can be as expressive as sound. Each frozen particle carries the story of a life well lived, of light that once traveled through galaxies, now resting, dreaming, waiting. The death of SAO 172480 is not a tragedy. It is a poem written in starlight. In its final form, the nebula glows softly against the night. Its two symmetrical lobes stretch like open wings, fragile and pure. They do not signify loss, but release. The star's last act was not destruction. It was generosity. It returned everything it had borrowed from the universe: matter, energy, light. It gave it all back, quietly, humbly, beautifully. To look upon the Boomerang Nebula is to see serenity captured in space. It feels less like a place of death and more like a resting place between breaths. The cold does not bite here, it soothes. The darkness does not frighten, it comforts. The nebula is not a tomb, it is a lullaby, sung by the universe to remind us that even endings can glow. The longer one stares into it, the more it seems alive, not with motion, but with meaning. The colors shift subtly as light passes through the layers of dust, creating the illusion of movement where there is none. This illusion, this quiet dance of photons, is what remains of the star's rhythm. It is the echo of a life that once burned, continuing to hum softly through the frozen air. Every atom in the Boomerang Nebula carries potential. Though the star is gone, its essence will not fade. In millions of years, the dust it left behind will drift into new clouds, will combine, will ignite again. The universe will take what was once the end of something and use it to begin anew. That is its nature, to turn death into design, to turn silence into song. Beauty in the cosmos is never wasted. It changes form, it travels, it reappears. The Boomerang Nebula's stillness today will one day become the fire of tomorrow. The same particles that once circled SAO 172480 will find each other again, drawn together by the same force that first lit the stars. This is how the universe breathes, through cycles of ending and beginning, through the quiet transformation of loss into creation. The nebula, floating in its frozen calm, feels like the closing of one chapter, the final brushstroke of an artist who knows that true beauty doesn't need to last to be eternal. It only needs to be felt. And somewhere, across the galaxy, the echo of that beauty continues to move, touching other clouds, other stars, other beginnings, beyond the frozen light of the boomerang, where the dust begins to thin and the silence starts to lift. Something stirs once more. The remnants of other stars, drifting nearby, begin to converge. Gravity hums quietly, and the first spark of warmth begins to rise again. The universe prepares its next canvas, ready to paint with fire where once there was frost. Far beyond the quiet heart of the Boomerang Nebula, young stars begin to shine. Their light travels softly across the void, threading through the frozen curtains of gas and dust that drift in the cold. It does not pierce or overwhelm. It caresses. Through the mist, beams of gold and blue shimmer faintly, brushing against the remnants of an older fire that once lived here. The glow of youth touches the dust of memory, and for a moment, the past and the future breathe together. The light moves gently, like a whisper carried by time. It passes through the nebula's icy veil, bending and scattering, painting delicate colors on the frozen air. Each beam is a greeting, a wordless acknowledgement from the new to the old, from the living to what has gone quiet. The dust glows faintly in response, not with heat, but with remembrance. The light that once burned here finds its reflection in these newborn suns, like a melody echoed by another instrument long after the first note fades. The nebula itself seems to awaken, if only for a heartbeat. The faint illumination from the distant stars gives it shape. Two soft wings stretching outward, translucent and fragile. Their curves catch the light and scatter it, as if the cold mist is learning how to shimmer again. In that gentle exchange, silence turns luminous. The frozen stillness becomes a living painting, alive not with fire, but with touch. From far away, this interaction would be nearly invisible, a soft glow hidden among the endless dark, yet it holds the essence of everything the universe is made of: connection. The young light does not erase the old, it carries it forward. The dust, born from the last breath of a dying star, now serves as the mirror that reflects the dawn of new creation. Nothing is wasted. Everything continues. The Boomerang Nebula becomes a bridge between ages, Through its thin veil of frost, light flows in both directions, from the stars beyond and from the faint warmth that still lingers within. Together, they weave a quiet harmony. The cold absorbs, the light answers, and in their meeting, a balance forms. Death and birth no longer oppose each other. They dance. The starlight that filters through the nebula moves slowly, almost reverently. Each photon passes across particles of dust that once belonged to another time, another fire. It touches them, then moves on, carrying with it fragments of memory, like travelers collecting stories along their way. The universe listens to this exchange, patient and infinite, allowing the past to dissolve into the brightness of the present. And though the mist remains cold, something changes. The presence of a light gives it texture, a sense of movement. The nebula no longer feels empty. It feels alive, breathing in slow rhythm with the stars that surround it. The darkness, once absolute, now glows faintly, not from within, but from the kindness of distant suns. Their light travels across light years to reach this place, to say, you are not forgotten. Every generation of stars writes upon the sky that came before it. The Boomerang Nebula now carries traces of this dialogue. Old dust illuminated by new flame, ancient silence answered by youthful brightness. In this way, the cosmos speaks, through layers of time, through echoes of light, through the soft conversation between endings and beginnings. The beauty of this moment is quiet. It is not the brilliance of explosion or the birth of galaxies, but something gentler, a reminder that even the faintest light has meaning when it touches the memory of what came before. The young stars do not know what they are honoring. They simply shine, as all stars do, and in doing so, give warmth back to what once gave it to them. The Boomerang Nebula holds this exchange like a secret. Its mist hums softly, absorbing the distant glow, scattering it, returning it. It becomes a symphony of stillness, light meeting shadow, warmth meeting cold, new meeting old. This is how the universe grieves and celebrates at the same time, not with noise, but with radiance. And then, deeper within the nebula's frozen center, something subtle begins to stir. The light that filters through does more than illuminate. It warms. Dust begins to gather again, drawn together by invisible forces, by gravity's also patient pull. Beneath the calm, motion returns. It is faint, fragile, and barely seen, but it is there. The first trembling of the rebirth beneath the quiet wings of the nebula. Beyond this soft exchange of light and silence, deep inside the mist, new life begins to take shape. Particles drift closer, their cold edges touching. The universe leans in, listening, as the seeds of a new star begin to pulse. Small, hidden, and full of promise, waiting to ignite the darkness once more. Within the drifting dust of the Boomerang Nebula, the story of creation quietly begins again. What was once the body of a dying star has now become a nursery of potential, a cloud of fine particles carrying the essence of life yet to come. The ashes of an old sun float through the cold, silent space, rich with carbon, oxygen, and iron. the very elements that will one day give form to oceans, mountains, and hearts that beat beneath alien skies. The dust glimmers faintly, illuminated by the distant light of younger stars. It does not shine with its own power anymore, but with reflection, like the soft glow of memory. Each tiny grain holds within it the record of fire, of fusion, of the endless transformations that happen inside a star's core. The carbon it carries was once shaped by light itself. The oxygen was born from flame, and now they drift together like gentle sparks in the vastness of space, searching for a new place to rest, to begin again. This is the quiet miracle of the cosmos. Nothing is ever truly lost. What seems like death is only the breaking apart of one story so that another may be written. The dust, scattered and weightless, is not destruction, it is preparation. In time, these grains will find each other again. Gravity, that invisible artist, will draw them closer, weaving them into new clouds, denser and warmer. From those clouds will rise new stars, new worlds, and perhaps, far into the future, new lives that will look back at the sky and wonder where they came from. Every particle carries a promise. Within that promise is the memory of heat, a spark of energy that once powered the heart of a sun. Now, that same spark will rest in silence until it is called upon again. The universe does not hurry this process. It moves in the rhythm of eternity, letting the dust wander freely, letting time fold and unfold around it, until the conditions are right for birth once more. The Boomerang Nebula, cold and calm, is a cradle of transformation. The same elements that once sustained light are now drifting toward new possibilities. Somewhere in that frozen cloud, hydrogen waits to fuse, carbon waits to bind, oxygen waits to meet water that does not yet exist. The ingredients of life float in the dark, invisible but inevitable. What was once a single dying star has become the soil of the cosmos, the beginning of countless stories yet to be told. There is something deeply comforting in this, the knowledge that even in the quietest endings, creation continues. The star's death, gentle and silent, has become an act of giving. It left behind not emptiness, but abundance. The dust that fills the Boomerang Nebula will someday form the building blocks of planets, comets, and moons. It will carry the chemistry of existence, waiting patiently for the right touch of gravity, the right pull of heat, the right whisper of time. Through the mist, the dust moves softly, colliding and separating, creating faint patterns invisible to the human eye. To the universe, however, this dance is sacred. Each movement, each interaction, each slow gathering of matter is a step toward renewal. Even now, the first signs of cohesion appear. Small clusters of particles drifting closer, drawn by the subtle pull of attraction. Within these fragile unions, new futures are beginning to take shape. The universe listens quietly as this process unfolds. It has seen it countless times before, yet never exactly the same. Every star's death carries its own rhythm, its own melody. The dust from one will mix with that of another, and from their union, something entirely unique will emerge. Somewhere, in some future moment, another nebula will glow, another planet will spin, another living being will open its eyes, and look back toward the stars, unaware that it was born from this very dust. The Boomerang Nebula continues to drift, its wings expanding slowly, gracefully, across the darkness. Within it, millions of invisible seeds move through the void, carrying the blueprints of life in silence. The universe cradles them gently, patient as ever. It knows that creation is never rushed. It unfolds in whispers, not explosions. Perhaps this is what immortality truly means. Not eternal life, but eternal becoming. The atoms that once formed a shining sun are now free to become something else, somewhere else. They will not remember their origin, yet they will carry its essence. And when they finally gather to ignite new light, the story will continue, not as repetition, but as renewal. The Boomerang Nebula, once a symbol of death, now holds the quiet hum of life's return. Its dust, scattered across time, holds the potential for oceans that will shimmer beneath new suns, for creatures that will breathe, dream, and love. This is the gentle secret of the universe. Everything that ends does so to make room for something that has not yet begun. Far beyond the frozen edges of the nebula, where the dust begins to thin and gravity's pull grows stronger, a subtle glow begins to form. Within the quiet storm of drifting particles, heat starts to rise. The first signs of fusion appear, delicate, fragile, but real. The ashes of the past are gathering into the light of the future. A new star is preparing to be born. Even as the Boomerang Nebula lies silent, the universe continues to move. It does not rest. It does not sleep. Everything within it, from the faintest particle to the grandest galaxy, expands, contracts, and breathes in its own rhythm. It is a slow, endless inhale and exhale, like the heartbeat of eternity. The stars are the lungs of creation, and every death, every birth, every flicker of light is part of this gentle respiration. The boomerang itself seems still, frozen in its perfection, yet deep within its calm, motion never ceases. Dust continues to drift. Gravity continues to weave. Invisible waves ripple through the void, carrying energy across unimaginable distances. Even silence here is alive. The nebula's cold wings expand imperceptibly, exhaling the remnants of the old into the breath of the new. The universe is never truly quiet. It hums softly, a constant vibration, cosmic lullaby. The faint background radiation that fills all of space is the aftersound of its first breath, taken billions of years ago. And even now, that breath continues. Matter flows, stars pulse, galaxies turn. Creation has no endpoint. It is an infinite process, unfolding moment by moment, light by light. The Boomerang Nebula is part of this rhythm. Though it appears lifeless, it is still part of the grand motion. Its gases stretch outward, blending into the galactic wind. The dust it releases drifts through the Milky Way, mixing with the remains of other stars, becoming part of the universe's bloodstream. What once belonged to one heart now flows into many. This is the universe's secret. It never stops giving, Even destruction is a form of creation. The ashes of a dead star are not an ending, they are ingredients. They scatter and settle, building the foundations of something else. Carbon will become the breath of a future being. Oxygen will flow in alien oceans. Iron will form the core of planets, yet unborn. What seems still in one place moves endlessly in another. Nothing is wasted. The universe breathes through transformation. It inhales matter, shapes it, burns it, and then exhales it back into the void. Changed, refined, ready to begin again. The Boomerang Nebula is part of this breath, the exhale of a star that once burned fiercely and now sleeps in fragments of dust. The energy it released still moves, still influences, still participates in the dance of creation. When we look at it, we see stillness, but the stillness is only illusion, the quiet pace of cosmic time. Over millions of years, the dust will drift farther, the gas will fade, the memory of the nebula will dissolve into starlight. Yet from that same dust, new suns will ignite, new worlds will turn, and perhaps new life will gaze at the night sky and wonder about the same mystery. Where did we begin? Everything that exists shares this lineage. The atoms in our bodies once floated in places like the Boomerang Nebula, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the bones within us. All are made from the remnants of forgotten stars. We are not observers of the universe. We are its continuation. Its rhythm pulses within us. Its breath moves through us. When the universe expands, so do we. Even now, as the boomerang's faint glow fades into the dark, it participates in the great cycle of becoming. Its silence feeds the next whisper of life. Its fragments are carried into the interstellar current, drifting toward the gravitational arms of the future. The cosmos does not mourn what it loses, because it knows that nothing is ever truly gone, only changed. There is a kind of peace in knowing this. The Boomerang Nebula, once the coldest place known, becomes a symbol of warmth, not in temperature, but in meaning. It reminds us that endings are not voids, but doorways. Every sigh, every collapse, every flicker of fading light is part of a greater rhythm, one that has been unfolding since the first breath of time. The universe has never stopped being born. It is not a single event, but a continuous act of renewal. Every second, somewhere, a new star flares into existence, and somewhere else, another releases its final breath. Together, they form the heartbeat of creation, an endless pulse that echoes through eternity. And perhaps that is what the boomerang teaches most of all, that death is never silent. Even now, long after its flame has dimmed, its essence travels through the cosmos, touching other stars, other worlds, other stories. The universe listens, receives, and responds. It inhales once more, far beyond the fading wings of the nebula. Within another region of the galaxy, a faint light begins to gather. Gas clouds collide, warmth returns, and a new sun begins to form. The cycle turns again, slow, graceful, eternal, as the breath of the cosmos continues its quiet song. In the quiet dark of the Boomerang Nebula, something begins to stir. The dust that once drifted aimlessly starts to gather, slowly, gently, almost shyly. Each grain drifts toward another, guided by the soft pull of gravity, by the invisible hand of time. From afar, it still looks like stillness. Yet beneath that stillness, a rhythm begins. The universe is composing again. The particles move in spirals, tracing invisible patterns through the cold. They collide softly, merge, and drift apart, only to find each other again. Each motion, each trembling contact is soundless. But if one could listen beyond the limits of hearing, it would be music, a low, resonant hum, born not of air, but of motion. The dust is singing, and its song is one of return. The Boomerang Nebula, once the quietest place in the cosmos, is no longer silent. The vibrations of rebirth ripple through its vast wings, weaving through the icy mist. The harmony is delicate, made of collisions so faint they could take centuries to complete, yet together they form a melody deeper than any voice. It is the music of creation, played in a tempo the universe alone can follow. The dust moves as if remembering something, the way heat once flowed through it, the way light once touched its edges. Every spin, every curve, echoes the memory of a heartbeat long gone. But this time, the rhythm is different. It's not the pulse of a star's end. It's the slow, careful rhythm of beginnings. The Boomerang Nebula, once frozen in perfect stillness, begins to breathe again. The swirling motion grows more intricate. Particles cluster into the small whorls, then into larger shapes, forming faint rings and spirals within the haze. The nebula glows faintly, not with flame, but with energy, warmth reborn through motion. The cold that once defined this place begins to soften. The frost is learning how to move again, how to vibrate, how to hum. This is how the universe makes life, through patience, through repetition, through the gentle gathering of dust into harmony. The song of the boomerang is not one of sound, but of order, chaos becoming structure, silence becoming rhythm. The particles move as if guided by memory, but what truly moves them is gravity, the invisible composer of the cosmos. It draws each note closer, weaving them into chords of matter that will someday ignite. The nebula glows a little more now. Light from distant stars passes through it and refracts in new ways, scattering across the dust like the shimmer of a quiet sea. The gas and particles reflect this faint illumination, turning the boomerang into a silent orchestra of motion and color. It's not a loud birth. It's gentle, intimate, almost secret. Only the universe is listening. Time stretches differently here. What happens in 1,000 human lifetimes is only a single verse in the nebula's song. The particles continue their slow waltz, building the foundation of something vast. Their collisions form molecules. Their patterns form clouds. The density increases. Heat grows. And within that warmth, the seeds of new light begin to stir. The Boomerang Nebula, once a symbol of stillness, now hums with renewal. Its song is not one of mourning anymore. It is of motion, the faint rustle of energy waking from a long sleep. The dust sings of rebirth, of transformation, of continuity. It does not remember its name, but it remembers its purpose. It was once a part of something bright, and soon it will shine again. To the universe, this melody is familiar. It has heard it in countless nebulae, in every place where destruction gives way to creation. The song is ancient, yet always new. It carries the same notes: patience, gravity, and light. Each verse ends the same way, with a star rising from the quiet hum of dust. The Boomerang Nebula swells softly, the dust thickening, the temperature rising by fractions of a degree. The airless void begins to glow. It is faint, a soft blush in the blue haze, but it is the beginning of heat, the first whispers of fusion, the first breath of a future sun. The coldest place in the universe is warming, one heartbeat at a time, and though no sound can travel through the vacuum, the universe seems to listen closely. It hears, not with ears, but with time. Every movement, every spark, every soft collision becomes a note in the eternal song of becoming. The boomerang's frozen wings are now instruments, vibrating with the possibility of new life. The dust has learned to sing again, and in its song there is hope. Hope that from the silence of one ending, 1,000 new beginnings will rise. Hope that the music of existence never truly stops. It only changes its tone. Far beyond the glowing mist, deep within the gathering clouds, something begins to pulse. The song of the dust finds its climax, a growing warmth, a heartbeat forming in the dark. The melody shifts, climbing gently toward light. Soon, the Boomerang Nebula will witness its first spark, the birth of a new star, rising from the echo of an old one. From the stillness of the nebula's frozen heart, pressure begins to rise. The gentle dance of dust that once moved in silence now tightens, condensing, folding inward. Each particle, drawn by gravity's ancient call, finds its place in the spiral. Heat begins to bloom, soft and slow, like the faint flush of dawn through mist. Then, at the center of it all, a spark ignites. It is small, almost invisible, yet it changes everything. The first light comes not with sound, but with pulse, a heartbeat born inside the cold. It flickers once, then again, until the rhythm steadies. The darkness that once ruled the Boomerang Nebula shivers, touched by a fragile warmth. This is the beginning of a new star, a new sun finding its breath. The light is delicate, young, uncertain. It trembles through the gas around it, wrapping itself in a cocoon of pale fire. The birth of a star is not an explosion. It is a whisper. Fusion begins deep within the core, where matter collapses into energy and silence turns into glow. The dust that once drifted like memory now fuels the fire of becoming. The nebula, once the coldest place known, begins to blush. Faint waves of light rippling outward, scattering through its icy wings. The new star opens its eyes. Its light, though weak, is alive. It stretches out, pushing through the fog of its own creation, reaching toward the endless black. Around it, the gases swirl like a cradle, shimmering with gentle motion. It is as if the cosmos itself pauses to watch, holding its breath at the sight of another flame joining its eternal sky. What was once a tomb of silence has become a nursery of light. The very dust that marked the death of an old star has given birth to this new one, the Boomerang Nebula, once a monument to stillness, now hums again, its soft gases vibrating with the warmth of renewal. The universe, in its infinite patience, has turned loss into music, and from that music, life begins again. The newborn star glows more steadily now. Its warmth spreads slowly through the surrounding mist, softening the cold that once defined this place. The icy particles closest to it begin to shimmer and drift outward, pushed by the force of light. This gentle wind, a stellar breath, carves faint paths through the darkness, marking the star's first motion, its first act of creation. The Boomerang Nebula no longer feels frozen. It glows from within, its quiet heart illuminated by a sun still learning how to shine. Its light is modest, almost shy, but within that modesty lies promise, the kind of promise that will one day forge worlds. The same carbon and oxygen that once formed the body of the old star now swirl around this new one, waiting to be shaped into something living, something enduring. The process is slow. Millennia will pass before the light grows strong, before the surrounding dust settles into disks, before gravity sculpts those disks into planets. But the direction is set. The rhythm is found. The cosmos has begun to breathe again through this young flame. The boomerang's transformation is almost complete. What began as silence became song. What was once cold became light. And now, in the faint shimmer of a young sun, the story of the old one continues, not as memory, but as motion. The nebula's cold wings carry the light outward, scattering it across the galaxy like a soft blue echo. The newborn star burns gently, unaware of the legacy it carries. Within its light are the atoms of another era, pieces of a life that once glowed, faded, and gave itself away so that this one could exist. In this way, the universe keeps its promise, that nothing is wasted, that even the quietest endings hold the seeds of beginning. The Boomerang Nebula, now warmed from within, looks different from afar. Its blue haze is touched with gold, its frozen symmetry softened by the blush of light. It is no longer only a place of stillness. It is a living transition, a bridge between death and birth, silence and song. And as the young star's light continues to grow, spreading slowly across the remnants of its frozen cradle, the gases around it begin to flatten and spin. The dance changes tempo. From the swirling dust, faint shapes begin to emerge. Circles, bands, the first outlines of something solid. The universe leans closer, for it knows what comes next, the slow, potent birth of worlds. From the heart of the nebula, light begins to flow again. At first, it is soft, a fragile shimmer, barely strong enough to reach the edges of its own cradle. Then, slowly, it grows. The newborn star's glow spreads outward, moving through the wisps of gas and frozen dust that still drift like pale curtains across the void. The Boomerang Nebula, once defined by silence and cold, begins to awaken beneath that golden touch. The light moves gently at first, filtering through layers of mist, painting the once frozen air with faint warmth. It does not blaze. It glows with the patience of something ancient, remembering how to live. As it travels, the photons brush against particles of ice and carbon, scattering softly into hues of silver and blue. The nebula shimmers like silk, caught in a hidden breeze. Every ripple of light becomes a whisper of return, a soft reminder that the universe never truly forgets how to shine. The cold that once held the nebula in stillness begins to ease. Temperature rises by fractions, so slow that even eternity seems to pause and watch. The frost that once marked the universe's coldest place now glows faintly under the touch of illumination. The icy wings of the Boomerang Nebula refract the newborn light, bending it into delicate arcs, a cosmic reflection of dawn breaking across an endless horizon. The darkness does not resist. It receives the light like a long-lost friend. Together they form a harmony, shadow and radiance moving as one. The light does not conquer the night. It completes it. Every beam that pierces the frozen haze carries with it the story of transformation. The truth that death is not an ending, but a doorway. And this light, pure and young, carries the memory of what came before. Inside it are the atoms once forged in the core of the old star, now burning anew in the heart of the new one. Every photon that leaves this flame carries a trace of that legacy, the echo of a star that gave its life so that another could rise. It is light reborn from memory, warmth sculpted from loss. As it spreads farther, the glow breathes life into the surrounding clouds. The gases that once drifted in stillness begin to move again, shimmering as if stirred by invisible wind. The Boomerang Nebula, once a monument of quiet, becomes a living sea of color, a tapestry woven from radiance and remembrance. From Earth, millions of years later, this light will reach distant telescopes, crossing oceans of space to tell its story. And those who see it will not just witness a nebula, they will see time itself, albive and breathing. They will see the moment when a new star took its first breath, and how, in doing so, it awakened a whole region of the cosmos. The Boomerang Nebula is no longer a place of endings. It has become a beacon, faint, yes, but eternal. Its light dances across space, carrying the signature of renewal. The photons that once belonged to darkness now scatter freely, each one a spark of promise. The star within it continues to burn, stronger now, more certain, its pulse steady against the infinite. The nebula glows softly, its two curved wings reflecting the golden breath of the new sun. From afar, it resembles an hourglass of light, time itself captured in the act of rebirth. The symmetry of its shape mirrors the balance of creation, life emerging from death, warmth rising from cold, beginnings born from endings. The universe, as always, writes poetry in physics. Every second, more light escapes. It travels outward, endless and free, illuminating the pathways of dust that will one day form planets, moons, and comets. Each beam is a thread connecting past and future, the dying whisper of one existence, becoming the first breath of another. And the boomerang, for all its fragility, holds this moment perfectly. Its mist swirls softly, glowing from within, as though the nebula itself remembers what it feels like to be alive. The warmth that fills it is not only physical, it is emotional, a kind of cosmic tenderness that reminds us that creation is not born from chaos alone, but from love, patience, and return. The light continues to spread. It reaches the farthest corners of the nebula, then begins to slip beyond into the open dark. With every passing moment, more of the cold dissolves, more of the silence turns to song. The Boomerang Nebula is no longer the coldest place in the universe. It has become one of its quietest miracles, a living testimony to the endless rhythm of birth and rebirth. And though the universe around it remains vast and still, something profound has shifted. The star at the center hums with quiet certainty, sending its glow across light years, carrying within it both memory and hope. The light that once faded has returned, softer, wiser, endless. And somewhere beyond that expanding radiance, in the open arms of the cosmos, the glow begins to thin once more. The light stretches farther, dimming as it travels, until only a faint shimmer remains, a whisper of warmth fading into silence. Yet even as it fades, the universe breathes again, preparing for the next sigh, the next spark, the next chapter of eternal becoming. Slowly, the Boomerang Nebula begins to dissolve. Its delicate wings, once glowing faintly with the breath of a new star, now thin and fade into the endless dark. The gases stretch outward, drifting farther and farther apart until their shape disappears entirely. What remains is not silence, but peace, a stillness that feels like a sigh released after a long, beautiful story. The light from the young star continues to shine, soft and steady, even as its cradle melts away. The nebula, which once held it in cold and shadow, has given everything it had, its dust, its atoms, its warmth, its memory. Now, those gifts are scattered across the galaxy, carried by solar winds and cosmic currents. The boomerang becomes one with the universe again, its body dissolved into the very breath of space. It feels less like disappearance and more like return. The nebula was never meant to stay, it was meant to give. And so it fades, layer by layer, releasing its colors, its glow, its story, back into the vastness that once birthed it. What was once a shape now becomes essence. What was once a star's farewell becomes the quiet hum of continuity. Far beyond what eyes can see, the particles drift on. Some will join the clouds of other nebulae. Others will seed the formation of new suns. In their journey, they carry the memory of everything that came before, the warmth of fusion, the silence of death, the song of rebirth. This is how the universe remembers, not in monuments of stone or fire, but in movement. The Boomerang Nebula was once the coldest place known. Now, its chill has softened into calm. Its remnants shimmer invisibly across light years, mingling with the dust of other worlds, other lives. Somewhere, in a far-off corner of the galaxy, its particles will meet again. In the heart of another nebula, in the birth of another light. The old star's farewell was not an ending, it was a gift, a final act of creation disguised as stillness. The atoms it left behind are already at work, building futures that will take millions of years to unfold. From its breath, planets will form. From its ashes, oceans will rise. From its energy, life will awaken, perhaps to look up one day and see the same stars that once surrounded its ancestor. This is the rhythm of the cosmos. To dissolve is to begin again. The universe inhales, gathering dust into stars, and exhales, scattering them back into the dark. Each breath takes billions of years, yet the pattern never breaks. The Boomerang Nebula, now vanished from view, is part of that rhythm, a soft note in the eternal symphony of becoming. The new star at its center shines brighter now, unbound by its veil. It burns with a quiet confidence, unaware that it carries the legacy of something long gone. Its light travels outward, reaching the same corners where the old star once shone. In that light, the universe sees itself renewed, a continuous loop of loss and creation, silence and sound. The cold emptiness that follows the nebula's fading is not grief, it is grace. It is the space the cosmos makes for the next story to unfold. Within that space, time stretches its fingers, shaping, breathing, dreaming, and in that dreaming, everything that was, the dust, the flame, the silence, begins again in another form. The boomerang's final breath becomes the universe's next inhale. It joins the great current of stars, feeding the endless chain of birth and renewal. What once was a whisper of frost now hums as light, warmth, and possibility. The nebula is gone, yet its presence lingers everywhere, in every star that burns, in every planet that turns, in every heart that beats beneath them. And so the universe breathes, slow, long, and tender. From the coldest place comes warmth. From the quietest death comes life. The Boomerang Nebula, once a frozen echo of farewell, becomes a hymn of beginnings. Its voice fades into the background of the cosmos, but its essence remains in the rhythm of everything that follows. And somewhere, deep in the dark, another cloud begins to stir, invisible, silent, gathering itself in preparation. The cycle turns once more. A breath is drawn. A spark will come, and the universe, forever patient, continues to create, to remember, and to dream. And so, the story closes, not with a period, but with a breath. For in every grain of dust, every dream, every small soul that looks to the stars, the universe continues to tell its tale, a tale with no beginning, no ending, only a whisper that echoes forever through the night. I never left. I am only sleeping.